The Magic Mountain. Now that I'm just like, Magic Mountain. What mountain can I think of in Nier? The only mountains I can think of are the Airy. It's not the Forest of Myth. It's not gonna be the Machine Place. On the other side, we have the Shadow Lord's Castle. And then we have Facade. I can't think of a magic mountain anywhere. But I'm thinking literal magic. This could be Shadow Lord's Castle and then the Witch's Sabbath. Oh man. Like this is going somewhere. And then why do I feel like this is going to build up to the Little Mermaid? The Lost Appendix. Oh my god. Alright, the Magic Mountain. Let's not even read the thing. Jacob and Gideon spend a week searching for their mother. Oh, God! Oh, we need a break before we go into that. Oh, God. This is going to be more depression, isn't it? Of course it is. Why do I even need to question? Oh, you know what we need for this Jacob content? You know what we need? Where is it? This is perfect for the break. This is gonna set the mood. This is gonna set the mood. This sets the mood. We're there now, aren't we? I was reading and it says that music can repair damaged brain parts and cells as well as bring back memories. And I'm telling you, I feel like I'm in the junk heap now. You feel it too, don't you? Alright. Time for depression. The music has set the tone. We are in the scrap heap. The Magic Mountain. The Magic Mountain. Do people lose their way because they're human? Or are they human because of that? Gone beyond piled up conflicts and indignation we live. My first kicker is, are we actually going to see the brother leading up to his death? Or is this during the week where they're searching for their mother prior to NieR and the gang arriving for the first time? That's the real question. There seems to be a few chapters, but 1. I'm going to be late. You guys should sleep first. That's all Mother ever said to us brothers when she left for the mountain. Please take care, Mom. Looking at her back way down by a sturdy bag, I said the same words every time. Yeah, someone going to forage materials doesn't need to bring so much. A long, long time ago, the junkyard was said to be a military facility. Military faculty? Okay. Faculty, facility. Oh. After all, the workers disappeared and left the faculty unusable. Only robots remained. Their remains were made from rare metals. Mother would pick them up and sell them in the shop. Mommy? Come back soon, my brother wanted to say. But I shook my head at him. Those were taboo words. He looked depressed, and I put my hands on his shoulders. I wanted to hold back this small body that seemed ready to run after her at any moment. Suddenly, I had a bad feeling. Everything else was as usual. Only I tried to do something different. Mommy? My brother looked up at me, surprised. Mother did not turn back. Will she slow her steps if I shouted for her, wait? In the end, I didn't try that. And on that day, Mother left. Oh, man. I wonder... He probably blames himself partially, but... Ugh. One day after Mother's departure, my brother asked me the same question over and over. Is Mummy not back yet? She's coming back soon. Usually, Mother's back by noon of the next day. Looking displeased, however, this is the first time she didn't come back before evening. Brother, you said the same thing a while ago. I did? You did. Brother, you're such a liar. Wah! My brother cried out. I'm busy preparing food and cleaning up the house, but my brother was too small to do anything. He must have been bored. She went deeper than usual. Hey, let's go find Mommy. No. My brother flinched. My voice was too loud. I immediately began cooing him with a softer voice. Didn't you make a promise with Mother? The mountains are dangerous, so you mustn't ever follow her. Only naughty kids break promises. My brother probably gave up. He cried silently. Mother only got mad at us and beat us because we were naughty. That's what my ignorant brother thought. Come, I'll read your book. Which one do you like? My brother sprang up and pointed at his favorite picture book. It was midnight on the second day since Mother's departure. Silently, as to not wake my brother, I got off my bed and went into my mother's room. Her scent lingered. The scent she left off when she faced the mirror and put on her makeup. It was overtly sweet and almost gave me a headache, so I could never like it. Her bed was the same as always, but I had a feeling about the drawers in her wardrobe and dressing table before I even opened them. But I have to make sure. I pulled out the drawers and saw that her clothes had disappeared along with her old traveling cloak. Her bag seemed different than usual because she was hiding the cloak inside. The drawer in her dressing table was empty as well. All her pretty bottles and cans with white powder in it were gone. What remained were her old unused hairbrush and curling iron. That's right. A day before Mother left, we had a customer. He was a man from a faraway city. After taking a long time with the man, Mother told Brother and me to play outside. I didn't know what they discussed, but afterwards Mother was unusually happy. She probably gave us no thought and only immersed herself in the fantasy of a life in a faraway city. No, she was like that from way before. She was indifferent to my brother and me. We were just in her way. I came back to myself when I heard the sound of a shattering mirror. I realized that I threw the hairbrush at the mirror. My brother could have been awoken. I strained my eyes but couldn't hear anything from the neighboring room. I relaxed and began to gather the mirror shards. So she abandoned them. She outright abandoned them. She didn't just go to, have a rendezvous with a lover. She outright abandoned them. Wow. Parenting, ladies and gentlemen. Shitty parents all round in this franchise. I've yet to find decent parents. Well, you have the grandma from Kane, who was really good, but, that fucks me. It fucks me when parents have kids and then they blame their kids, and it's like, you created them. You brought life into the world, and now you're blaming them for your fuck up? Nah. Ticks me off. And poor, I think Jacob's the eldest. He's stuck with his little brother. What the f*** is he supposed to do? What, run the shop? Nice going, Mom. How loving of you. Three days after Mother's disappearance, my brother cried and threw temper tantrums. I found some leftovers of material in the workroom and put together some toys for him. And he finally came down and played with them. Man, even as a child, I never did that. I never had temper tantrums, never did any of that shit. I was considered like the perfect kid. I didn't even do that thing where you're bitching at the supermarket for candy. Never. I didn't do any of that. Meanwhile, this little shit. Have a good dinner, man. I probably shouldn't be the one to say it, but I'm pretty skilled with my hands. I grinded the rust of whatever material Mother brought back and fixed any bent ones ever since I was small. Now I can manufacture and reinforce weapons. My mother didn't teach me any of it. She hated rough work. That's why my methods are completely self-developed. When I began with the tools that my father used, I managed to somehow learn. When I was cleaning out the workroom, I realized that we didn't have any materials left to sell. Usually Mother would pick up more from the mountain before that happens. But Mother is no longer. So not only did she abandon them, but she left them with virtually nothing. I realized that Mother not coming shouldn't be such a big deal. The more important issue is materials. If we don't have anything to sell in the shop, we can't live on. How should we live on? There's food for a few days, but when I think of what comes after, I can't help but be scared. How would we be living 1 month later, half a year later, even later than that? Brother. My brother looked up at me, worried. I must have been thinking with a serious face. We're not going to open shop? In truth, I promised to open the shop even when mother was gone. Most of the customers aren't only here to buy things. They often trade our materials with food or other necessities. The shop is temporarily closed. Why? We don't have enough materials to sell. If mother comes back, it's okay. I let out a louder voice than I intended. My brother's shoulders were shaking. Your brother will do something about it. I tapped my brother lightly on his back. I can't get worried. I can't randomly get angry either. Whenever mother became annoyed and unhappy, I could only bear her anger silently. I should be the one experiencing that. You don't have to worry about anything. What's really sad is that she was exerting all her anger and frustration out on the kids. So what happened? You had kids with the husband and the husband passed away and you blamed the kids for that? What was the plan? Get hitched to a guy that ran a shop and you wouldn't have to worry about life anymore? And you're upset that you had kids to lock him in and then he died? So what was he to you? Was he just a cow that you milk? That's fucked, man. This is what pisses me off about people. And I know it happens on both sides of the fence, but this is what disgusts me about humanity. And then they just turn their back on their kids that they created. What the hell? These people aren't people. They're parasites. Because they don't care about anyone else. They're just concerned with themselves. Oh yeah, we barely have enough food, but I have makeup and perfume all the way. Great, you smell like a whore. Congratulations. Meanwhile, your kids are starving. I'm upset that her death was so quick. Why did I not find her body parts throughout machinery partially crushed? Damn it, Yoko Taro. Yoko Taro is really skilled. He has different types of stories that make you feel different things. It's not just sadness. It's a different catalog of emotions. Well, Omega, I feel you on that one. My mother had me to try to lock in my father. Pretty horrible, isn't it? Pushing back my annoyance and worry, I tried to be gentle. It was an easy thing. My brother would smile just at that. However, mother wouldn't even do something as simple as that. Hey, I'll make it so that toy can move faster. Really? My brother broke out in a wide smile. He must have forgotten both the shop and mother. Mother couldn't do this, could she? I'm good at this. Even if mother couldn't do anything, even if she wasn't here, my brother would smile if I'm here. I'm happy about that. Judging from how Jacob was using his father's tools, we can assume his father was a mechanic, as well as probably died salvaging for parts. It is very possible. For years, she made me feel like my brother and I were basically the source of her financial problems, so yeah, some parents are terrible people. Man. I remember, like, you know when kids have birthdays? And people visit and they, don't know what to get the kid, so they give the kid money? And me being a kid that didn't really grow up with much, I would always save the money. But in hindsight, my mother would always... One of her friends would need to borrow money. Get what I mean? Borrow money. One of her friends needed to borrow money. And, as a kid, you don't realize that at the time. But she was basically using on shopping and buying clothes. And it wasn't even like good clothes or anything. It was just buying clothes because that's what she did. So I would either be at home alone, or if I was stupid enough to follow her to a shopping center, I would literally have to sit in a shopping center all day while she shopped for clothes. And if I complained, she would get angry. And looking back at it, she was literally one of those party girl thoughts that used to go to clubs and shit. And then she just basically monkey branched onto my father. From what I hear, she saw a guy in Eastern Europe driving a BMW at a time when BMWs were about the same price as a house. And she was like, ooh, I gotta catch me that. But of course, you know, he's to blame for not loving her and I'm to blame for unhappiness and shit. Even though she only created me to try to latch him on, which didn't really work. So I got resent from both parents being the glue that partially kept them together when they were both just horrible people that should have both died alone. I mean, parents are fucked. And it's always the kids that suffer. Because they're such an easy target, right? It's so easy to blame helpless kids. Oh yeah, the kid is the source of all your problems. No, your problems started long before the kid. Long before the kid. And I say this quite openly. If you are not financially secure yourself, you should not be having kids. That's one of my things. I'm like, I am not gonna have kids until I am financially secure. And I know that even if I lose my job, they're gonna have a roof above their heads and food in the fridge. And they're gonna be, you know, they might not have a lavish lifestyle, but even if everything goes to shit, they're gonna have a decent life so they're not affected by that. Whereas I see a lot of people, they're struggling and they're like, let's have another 2 kids. What the fuck do you think that's gonna do? And then the kids are suffering. Because it's all related. The parents are stressed because they don't have enough money. The kids are stressed because, you know, the parents are stressed. The kids aren't getting the opportunities they need because the parents can't financially support them. But again, I loop back to the parents. Why the fuck did you bring life in the world when you can't look after it? I mean, you're supposed to go through the thought process of, before I get a pet, I need to make sure I have 1, either a yard or indoor where they can sort of, you know, play. 2, you think about the pet that you're getting to make sure that it fits your lifestyle. 3, you need to think about the fact, are you ready for a commitment? Because a pet needs to be taken out. A pet needs to be fed. A pet needs to, you know, all these things. If you're not ready for that commitment, don't get a pet. Meanwhile, people are creating life and bringing it into the world, giving it absolutely no thought, and then blaming the kids. Which messes them up because they're a blank slate, programmed by their parents. And then people wonder why so many people are fucked up in society. Why so many people are either depressed or unbelievably anxious or lacking direction or don't have meaning in life or are angry. What do you think was gonna happen? They haven't even been raised. They've been just brought into the world and dumped into an education system that doesn't care about them, with parents that don't give a shit about them, in a society that just wants to use them as economic slaves. And you're surprised that shit's going sideways. What the fuck? What the fuck? It's only going to get worse. Look at our generation, how they're behaving, and the type of people they look up to and what they think, and then realize that this entire generation is going to have kids, and they're going to be responsible for bringing life into the world. That is frightening. That is absolutely terrifying. The generations after us are absolutely fucked. We think we have it bad. Economic and housing crisis, hyperinflation, lack of employment. Think about the generations after us. They're absolutely fucked. Beyond measure. And if you want to see where society is going to be in another 20, 30 years, just look at any country with dense population. Look at India, look at China. We're going to be heading in that direction. And we're already partially getting there. Compensation dating has been a thing in China for like 20, 30 years. And now we're getting OnlyFans and e-girls and what do they call it? Sugar babies in the West. Man, that shit's been going on in China for like 20, 30, 40 years. We're just slowly following in their footsteps. So basically what it's going to turn into is if you don't have enough money, you're struggling to survive impoverished in a system that doesn't care about you. So you either go into crime, you go into politics, or you go capitalism on cocaine. In either case, as a result, you're going to lose a lot of your empathy towards humanity. Human life is not going to have any value. And you're going to have like 100 wives or something, as many as you can afford. Because that's what ends up happening in these societies. And don't for a second even ask about the happiness index, because no one's happy. Future generations are fucked on this planet, that's all I'm saying. And look who's raising them online. They're fucked, man. They're fucked. Alright, back to depression about a mother that abandoned her 2 children to starve so she could go get laid. Suddenly Yoko Taro's world doesn't seem so bad, but it's a microcosm for our society because it's more widespread than we realize. How many mothers have abandoned their children so they could, I don't know, go get laid? How many fathers have abandoned their children so they could go get laid? Too many. Too many, man. Too many. Too fucking many. I'm good at this. Even if my mother wouldn't do anything, even if she wasn't there, my brother would smile if I'm here. I'm happy about that. Is a good big brother. That's the one warming thing I find in Yoko Taro's stories. The elder sibling is actually looking after the younger sibling. They legitimately care about their sibling. Emil's sister Halua cared about Emil. NieR cares about Yona. And is Jacob the older brother? Cares about his younger brother. That's the one good thing about this franchise. It actually shows us that there are some bonds. Whereas the parents just seem to be shitty all around. No, wait, adults. Adults in general in this world. Absolutely fucked. Jacob cares about Gideon, yeah. The adults in the world of NieR, absolutely fucked. Absolutely fucked. Absolutely fucked. Even if he is super annoying. He's a little shit, but he's his little shit. You know what I mean? I don't understand it because I don't have siblings, but I can understand it logically that it's his little brother and he's got this feeling of he needs to protect him, which is really sweet and endearing. But sometimes I kind of wished he would just slap him and say harden the fuck up, because I couldn't handle that. I can't handle that. He just, I don't know, from my whole thing, like, if I know very little about child psychology, but if a little kid was going apeshit and trying to get my attention by creating noise, I would ignore him. Similar to how you ignore a dog when it's misbehaving, you associate that behavior with a negative response of either ignoring it or at the very least not rewarding it. I mean, that's how you train a dog, right? So I can only assume that if a child is doing the same thing, you ignore that behavior. You don't reward it. You don't pick up the kid that's crying because the kid, every time when he wants to be picked up, is going to make a bitch fit. And then next thing you know, that kid's going to run for president. You don't want that. Yoko Taro has mastery over the entire emotional spectrum. He can send you on an emotional roller coaster easily. Imagine being married to him. Imagine being married to him. Oh, man. He's already fucking with our brain. And we're not even high. Ghost stories. Yeah, I was listening to my uncle talk about his two sons, his eldest, and then he has his youngest, and the daughter is in the middle. She's the model. So the eldest, there was this story when the youngest was born, and apparently when he was really young, he got injured. He like fell from somewhere and needed to get surgery. And the eldest was with him the entire time, and even like at the hospital, the eldest was with him more than the parents. And he remembers that when he found out that he's gonna pull, he thought, you know, because it was give and take, like the youngest could have died. They had to perform surgery. And he remembers his eldest was crying so much and depressed and everything. And he remembers seeing the smile on his face when the doctor basically said he's gonna be fine. And he sort of remembers that memory as this sort of like, you know, cherry on the cake. He's sort of like thinking, even if he dies, his kids are going to look after each other. And I'm just sort of just sitting there listening to this story, and I'm like, that's really cute. I can in no way relate to any of that. You know what I mean? Because they've always sort of had each other to lean on as siblings. And they've, as a family unit, sort of done things together. They're an actual family unit. You know, 3 kids, 2 parents. They actually have that bond. Whereas I've always just been like solo. And I'm like, that's really cute. I can in no way empathetically relate to that. But I sort of understand it. I'm like, that's adorable in its own way. How would you guys fare on your own? You know what I mean? Like, I've always been like, oh, I cut myself. I have to stop the bleeding, you know? I'm gonna go sneak some of the alcohol to clear the wound and hope that my father doesn't find out that I used some of his vodka to clean bleeding. Because I'm more concerned with him beating me for touching his alcohol than I am about potentially losing a finger. That's the circumstance I grew up in. It's like, oh no, can I please not get a drop of blood on the carpet? God forbid I bleed to death. 2 sides of a spectrum. Four days after mother went out. Parents are sometimes shit. She draws some of his characters, so I can assume she is comfortable with his personality. Does she know about the white-haired thing? Does he make her wear a wig? Ask Yoko Taro's wife how she's doing. You know what would be crazy if she's the crazy one in the relationship? I think it's better to ignore bad behavior rather than enforcing it with negative punishment. Yeah. Yeah, you're better using psychological tactics to negatively associate bad behavior with a negative response rather than using physical. Because I don't really think that corporal punishment does a lot. I think it fucks up the kid more so than it instills behavior. It actually breaks their confidence and makes them submissive rather than makes them behave. She has drawn his white-haired girls. She's the one that draws them. Oh my god. I will just... But look at NieR. Even NieR has white hair. I mean, what's going on there, buddy? Even Emil has white hair. What's going on there, buddy? I can imagine his wife's like, well, you want cute white-haired girls? I'm gonna give you cute white-haired boys. And Yoko Taro's like, ha! Joke's on you, I'm into that shit. And then she's just like, well, fuck me. I'm thinking Skeletor. Oh, man. Can we get back to the depression? We're laughing too much. 4 days after mother went out, my brother disappeared. I thought he was fidgety since breakfast. It was after I cleaned up and began the chores that my brother disappeared from the spot beside the shop where he was playing. He wasn't in the child room, mother room, or work room. I turned the house inside out and searched for him. I looked in all the spots that he could have hidden in. The wardrobe, under the bed. He wasn't outside the shop either. I didn't see him around the bridge leading to the plains either. At last, I thought of the worst possibility. The junkyard. Now that I think about it, my brother insisted on finding Mother yesterday. He might have gone by himself because he thought I wasn't going to accompany him. I ran. No, he can't go into the mountains because there are things that shouldn't be seen. When my brother and I were still young, I went into the mountain against my mother's wishes. My brother wouldn't stop crying and I felt like crying as well, so I took off after Mother. A short distance into the entrance, I heard Mother's voice. Yes, it's Mother. I thought and ran, but the next instant my legs stopped. I heard a man's voice. Mother wasn't alone. I heard low laughter and panting. I stepped further as if entranced and saw what should never be seen. I couldn't remember what happened after, but after that, I thought of chasing after Mother again. I don't even want to go near the mountain's entrance. Wow. Wow. That would leave a scar. Wow. Wow. Really? At the entrance? I mean, we saw that entrance. It's mostly dirt and shit. Makes you wonder, what were they doing so deep inside the mountain? You know what I mean? Like, they were pretty deep inside the facility where we found them. Is that how they get their rocks off? Or they get their socks off? Or whatever the term is? Rock their socks off? Like, Jesus. My brother went into the forbidden place. I couldn't just stand there. I have to bring him back soon. I dashed through the narrow path and climbed up the ancient ladder and simply ran. Brother! I just had to. When my brother ran towards me, what engulfed me was not relief, but anger. Look, I picked up lots of them. Now the shop can. My brother was holding several materials, and I beat them out of his hand. Dented metal boards flew all over the place, and my ears rang. My brother must have gone to pick up materials because I told him that we can't open the shop since we have nothing to sell. He thought he'd be praised, just like how I continue to manufacture materials in hopes of being praised by Mother. Everyone is chasing someone's approval. We are fucked creatures. However, what came out of my mouth was completely different. I told you not to go into the mountain. My brother's proud expression disappeared without a trace, and his eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. I knew what I did was horrible. I couldn't bear to look at my brother's sad face anymore, so I turned my back to him. Hearing small footsteps behind me, I began to make my way back to the entrance. You want to know something fucked about human psychology? People that are abusers typically hurt people. But the reason why the victim stays with the abuser so long is that usually the abuser comforts the victim. And their brain associates the abuser as someone that comforts them, rather than someone that hurts them. And so in their mind, the idea of leaving them is more painful than the abuse. And the worst part is, psychopaths know this. And they abuse this flaw in logic. It's fucked. Stockholm syndrome. I don't know what the name is. Now that I think about it, I don't know what a lot of these syndromes are. I know kind of what they do, but I don't know the names. Mostly because they're named after people whose names I cannot pronounce. 6. 5 days after Mother's disappearance, my brother began to repeat "Mommy" over and over again. He calmed down after coming back from the mountains, but I'm not one to punish my brother just because I get a bit annoyed. When will Mummy come back? Let's go find Mommy. Mommy. Stockholm. Isn't Stockholm syndrome when you develop an emotional attachment to your captor? It's not Stockholm, it's different. It's a bit different. Because typically in Stockholm Syndrome, your abuser isn't the one comforting you. They're just like the only person that's around, so you attach to them emotionally. Because humans are like that. This other one is just, it's different. It might have a similarity in a sense, but it's different. It's a different thing altogether. It happens a lot to abusers within relationships, especially when it happens over many, many years. Because the cycle keeps continuing. They get abused and they get comforted, abused, and comforted, abused, and comforted. And so the person feels that they can't go alone because they wouldn't have anyone to comfort them. Even though by leaving, they would eliminate the source of the pain, they fear leaving because there's no one to comfort them in case there's pain. It's like an irrational fear of something. You don't know why you're afraid of something logically, but you still have that dread. It's really, yeah, it's horrible. And it's especially horrible that people use this predatorily on purpose. It beyond sickens me. Maybe that's why I'm so fascinated about how psychopaths function. Because I look at them as predatorial animals. I don't see them as humans. I see them as wolves in sheep's clothing. Because of the way they view other people. They view them as resources and tools and carcasses rather than human beings. I don't know. I think we're inquisitive creatures, aren't we? Mother wasn't even gentle to my brother. I was the one who played with him and read books to him. She did cook, but then I could do that as well. I was the one that pat my fretful brother on the head to lure him to sleep, not her. I cannot understand why my brother would be so attached to mother despite all that. With mother gone, I have to do more. But to my brother, nothing should have changed. It's that whole maternal thing. I mean, I understand it from an evolutionary point of view. We have these emotions in order to peer bond and have parents attach themselves to their young, because if they didn't, they wouldn't have any sort of reason to help nurse them and protect them. And we as a species would have died out a long time ago. But we've hit that awkward stage in human evolution where we no longer depend on every single person having children in order to sustain the species. We've long since passed that point, right? So, and society itself has begun to focus on materialism, which in its way is for a very limited number of people to accumulate resources, but you know what I mean, right? That's why they push materialism, so people buy crap they don't need to impress people they don't like and work jobs they hate because of social anxieties that people have put into mainstream media. It's a great system of economic control, but it's a bit... Man, the more I think of humanity as a whole, the more I realize we are fucked. And I can't even blame the people because the perpetrators are the ones actually reprogramming people to meet their own ends. This is sad. And then you've got this little kid, Gideon, that just misses his mommy because he's still a kid. Right? He misses his mommy. Mommy, 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 mommy. Wow. Okay. I was annoyed, and whenever I thought my brother could go out by himself, I couldn't leave my eyes off him. Let's go. Let's go to the junkyard. No, I told you, the mountains are dangerous. It wasn't dangerous at all. You were just lucky. You didn't meet that. That scary robot. Oh boy, here we go. He's gonna tell him a story about the scary robot killing people, isn't he? There were still functioning robots in the mountains. Apparently they were dangerous. Father was killed by robots. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. That was a lie. I don't know how he died. He was crushed by evil robots, his limbs torn off, and father died. There it is. There's the source of the trauma. There's the seed. There's the seed. There's the seed. Seeds are fucking dangerous. These little things are so dangerous. As a kid, and I've said this many times, as a kid, when they would open the front door, I would run into the house and I would hide behind a door or in a cupboard or something because it was dark. And I would basically let them look for me and they'd be like, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And I would scare them. Like they would even come into the room, look around. I would hide in a dark corner, even stop my breathing. And then as soon as they leave, I'd sneak up on them and, go like, hey, and they'd be like, ah. And they basically came up with this story that I shouldn't do that because they called him, I think it was Strachinja or something like that. They made up this monster, the equivalent of like the Babadook or some shit, right? And they're like, you shouldn't go in the dark because this monster lives there. And if you go there alone, he will eat you. And I forgot this story. But since then, I had this irrational fear of the dark. And you know how kids are afraid of the dark. I wasn't afraid of the dark up until that point. And even when I was in high school, I had this nightmare. Ever since I moved to this country, I would always sleep on my bed looking at the wardrobe because I was scared of this thing eating me from the wardrobe. And every time I would have this reoccurring nightmare of, I would try to pull something out of the closet and this hand would grab me. This long, thin, black claws would grab me and this monster would want to eat me. And so I would never close that wardrobe. And I was always scared on the side that was hidden on the wardrobe because I couldn't see what was in there. It is irrational as shit, I know. But traumatized little kid, these seeds are dangerous. And I would have this reoccurring nightmare of this thing just grabbing me by the hand, me screaming bloody murder for my parents and trying to drag it into the living room to get help. And as I got older in these reoccurring nightmares, I would get older. I would get bigger. And then eventually, I would be able to drag it to the living room. And I remember one time in the nightmare when I dragged it to the living room, my father was just sitting in the chair, my mother was just sitting on the couch, and they're like, oh, and they do absolutely nothing and I still get eaten. So the next time I had that nightmare, I realized that no one's coming to save me. And so in the nightmare when I went to grab a shirt and that thing grabbed me, my instinct wasn't to scream. Instead, I used the same hand to grab the thing by the neck and just slammed it to the back of the wardrobe and just choked the life out of it, just looking at it dead in its eyes. Its eyes were pretty much hollow, but I could just see shock and fear. And ever since then, in all my nightmares, I wouldn't run. No matter what the nightmare is, no matter how scary, how painful, my instinct went from flight to fight. After more than a decade of traumatic nightmares. And that's just one of many of the traumatic nightmares that I had. But these seeds are so dangerous because I only remembered that story because my mother at some point was saying like, you're so different. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like something, like our place got broken into. And I did like a tactical sweep of the whole apartment until, the cops came and she came and all this sort of shit. And she's like, you're so different. You went from this boy that was afraid from the dark to, you didn't even wait for the cops to arrive. You grabbed your, sword and literally cleared the apartment thinking someone could be there. Like, you weren't afraid. And then I told her this story and she's like, you just described the story we told you when you were a child. And then it clicked. You planted this seed that I could not remember. I could not remember the source of the trauma, but it sprouted and grew in my brain and traumatized me for so long. All from one little fucking lie that you created. Like the lie the villagers would tell about the witch in the woods that will cook you, So don't go in the woods on your own and don't follow strangers. Good advice, do not get me wrong. Don't follow strangers, don't, go home, they will eat you. That's a nice way to say that they're gonna rape you and murder you. But you create this trauma from a lie, and it grows and has a life of its own. And you forget the seed. This is the seed. Father was killed by robots. That was a lie. I don't know how he died. He was crushed by evil robots, his limbs torn off. So when the brother was crushed and the kid saw the robot, he's like, robot did it. The lie that was made to protect him ended up being the source of his suffering. I think that by trying to spare people pain and sugarcoating the truth, we only cause more suffering later down the track. I think it's sometimes better to give the bitter medicine. Ironic how it was Gideon who caused Jacob to be crushed and have his limb torn off. Well, the limb was torn off when he pulled. You remember that sound? Like when he pulls and you hear that dislocation, and then he like drops on his ass because he was pulling something that just detached. Ugh, that sound, but you get what I mean. Seeds are fucking dangerous. That's why now, when someone tries to plant a seed, I identify it, pluck it out, throw it. You know, don't let these seeds get to you. And I had quite a few of these. My father was notorious for it. He planted so many of these. I'm surprised I kept what's left of my sanity. But it is so dangerous. And it is particularly evil how some people knowingly use this as a system of control. I mean, it's innocent how parents do it. You know, don't go in the dark. Don't follow strangers, you know, don't go in the woods at night. It's all done with good intent, but people can also do it so maliciously, heinously, you know? And it has a life of its own. And it's been done time and time again, not only, you know, personally, but across entire nations and peoples, you know? Planting a seed that a certain nation or a certain people are dangerous monsters. And that fear just takes a life of its own and grows into hate and anger. And then you forget the source of the fear, but you remember the conclusion that these people are monsters that eat children, you know, and want to destroy everything. And then a handful of villagers do something, and on the other side of the fence, the people are like, why did they attack our village? And then they say the same thing, and next thing you know, you have an intergenerational war that spans the next 10,000 years. And it all started from a very simple lie. Huh. That was another lie, but I had no choice. I have to threaten him to prevent him from going into the mountains ever again. I highly exaggerated tales about the huge and evil robot, how father died mercilessly from its attacks. This adds a lot of weight as to why he wanted to destroy that P-33 robot. He exaggerated how big it was and how evil it was, not realizing that there was a big, tall fucking robot in the mountains. Which, funnily enough, was harmless. I think out of all the robots, the P-33 unit was probably the most harmless. I mean, now that I think about it, all the other robots, which probably were not sentient, but let's assume they were, you have these random people from the outside that are taking limbs from your fallen brethren. I mean, that's pretty scary. And when they run out of limbs from your fallen brethren, they start smashing the weaker of your brethren and taking their limbs. Look at it from the machine's point of view. That's pretty fucking horrifying. I mean, what is the natural conclusion? You band up together and you try to protect yourselves, right? I mean, right? We are fucked the day our toasters become sentient. I do not want my television being smarter than me. I don't want my fridge being smarter than me. Call me old-fashioned. I don't want my car coming to the conclusion that I'm a horrible piece of shit and ramming me off a cliff. My brother cried out of fear. I feel guilty but relieved at the same time. Now my brother won't be enraged. He doesn't have to bear unpleasant memories. Aha. It's okay, brother will protect you. Aha. If I don't leave his side, my brother will be safe. He cried and clung to me. And when I embraced his small body, I felt better than ever before. I mean, I'm not blaming him. He's doing the best that he can. He's doing what he thinks is the right thing. And he's looking after his brother. I cannot blame him. At the same time, I'm just going, no. Oh, God, no. You know when you see a train wreck coming, but there's nothing you can do about it? That's basically what's happening right now. 6 days passed after Mother's disappearance. Yeah, so the chapters are basically the days she left. My brother woke up. I nailed boards to the house's back door to block passing. I did the same thing for the windows. Now I only have to watch over the front entrance. I succeeded in painting fear of robots inside of his heart, but I could not smother the childish curiosity that nudged him to go outside. Even if I constantly kept watch, my brother wanted to slip out somewhere. I couldn't protect you that way. Please stay where I can see you. Please. So, he thinks that he's creating an environment to protect his brother, but rather he's creating a prison from his brother and himself. This is really heartbreaking. I stayed by your side after you cried from nightmares, until you fell asleep again. I took your share of punishment from Mother. I covered your ears so that you couldn't hear my brother's deprecations, and because nobody ever protected me, I wanted to protect you, to make up for my share of protecting. I mean, that sums it up right here. He's a really good brother. He's just doing the best he can with the shitty circumstances he's been given. And I really feel bad for him. And in the end, he couldn't protect his brother. He did his absolute best and he sacrificed himself, but ultimately, he could not protect his brother. He thought that by keeping his brother with him, he would be able to, protect him forever. But instead, he created someone that always needs someone that... That night, I blocked the entrance to the mountain with huge boxes. My brother wasn't strong enough to move the boxes yet. After that, I locked out the door that faced the plains. A door made of wire separated us from a huge bridge on the other side, from where you could reach the plains. Our customers all come from that wired door. The door was the only thing connecting our house to the outside world. If I could block that, then my brother would be trapped forever, in this absolute safe haven. Oh, man. Oh, man. It already sounds like a prison, doesn't it? Barbed wires, blocked entrance, blocked windows, boxes. However, if customers couldn't get in, then we wouldn't be able to get food or necessities. We don't have much food left. I could bear not having a few meals, but I don't think my brother can want my brother to go hungry. What should I do about food? Just thinking makes my head hurt. There are probably fish below the bridge. No, I don't even know how to fish. What about the mice around the shop? They don't seem that hard to catch with the traps, but I wonder if they're edible or not. Oh, man. If I really had no choice, I could always cut off an arm or a leg and feed it to him. Plus, I still had to... Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Dude. Oh my god, I thought the thought process was getting bad, but it is, holy shit, it's bad. This is worse than I thought. This is beyond bad. This is irrationally How old is he? How old is he? Because we went to look for his mother after about a week or something. So if we didn't arrive... Holy shit. I searched the kitchen thoroughly for anything that looked vaguely edible. However, there was nothing worth mentioning. I thought that mother would leave us some food at least. No, if she'd do that, she wouldn't abandon us in the first place. The only things important to her were makeup and decorations, and that man who came to visit. Everything else is the same to her. Let's stop this. Stop thinking about mother. What should I do from tomorrow? That's more important. Thinking about what to feed my brother is important. That's more crucial than how to soothe my brother. If he'd only behave more. If only he didn't miss mother. If only he didn't have any interests in robots. Or if he was a sickly child that had to stay in bed all day long. If he was satisfied with reading picture books at home or playing with toys, then my worries would have been halved. Man. I'm pretty sure NieR would think otherwise. Right, what if my brother couldn't go out alone, no matter how much he wished to? What if he could no longer move his body at will? Oh my god. This is going down a very dangerous tangent. I opened the door to the children's room, careful not to make any noises. My brother was fast asleep. His blanket with a few feathers sticking out was falling onto the floor. My brother would always move in his sleep. I'm the one who had to pull his blanket over him numerous times throughout the night. See, I do that for Hutchin, but I don't think about, smothering her or something. What if my brother couldn't walk? Then I could protect him. Much easier than now. My hand shook slightly, and the knife I carried felt heavy. Holy dude. You don't have to go anywhere, right? You don't have to walk on your own. I'd take you anywhere inside the house. I looked down at his exposed tiny legs. These things should just disappear. It's better that they do. If my brother couldn't walk, I could always be a good brother. Let's get this over with. Before my brother wakes up, just plunge the knife in without a second thought. Will he cry? If he cries, then I'll embrace him gently. I'll read him his favorite picture books. I'll make him toys again. But he's insane. I'll admit I zoned out for a bit, but what the actual ever-loving fuck? He's insane. He's irrationally processing the situation. He's like, I'm hungry. Maybe I could just hack off a limb and feed it to him. Maybe I could just chop off his legs. If he cries, I'll just give him a gentle hug and read him a picture book. That'll quieten him down. He's lost his grip on reality. I promised to protect you, right? Yes, I will protect you with my life, right here in this place. Protect, always, until the end of my days. That's why, I just need one single payment. The moment I swung up the knife, brother. I stopped myself. He was just talking in his sleep. My brother smiled widely at some kind of dream he's seen. A smile of utmost happiness. What I really wanted to protect was this. It should have been just this. All my strength left me. What am I trying to do just now? I ran out of the children's room and outside. I wanted to leave the knife behind, but it seemed to be stuck on my fingers. I couldn't let go of it. I ran towards the wide door and swung my arms with all my strength. The ancient knife flew across the bridge, and I couldn't see it anymore. Is that the kitchen knife that we randomly find in the plains? I unlocked the gate and headed towards the mountains. I returned the boxes to their original position and the passageway was clear again. I felt unbelievably tired. I dragged my feet back to the children's room and tried to cover my brother with the blanket, but fell asleep. I didn't dream. Holy shit! 7 days have passed since Mother left. Food was getting scarce and we still had nothing to sell. Still, I wanted to open the shop. We have to live on. Can I not melt the kitchen pot and manufacture something? It doesn't even have to be a pot. If I do something to anything in the house. While I was thinking, I heard the wide door open. Someone is here. I strained my eyes and caught some of the conversation. Not one customer, but two. Weiss, what a weird name. What was that other guy's name? Brother, I'm hungry. Wait a bit. If I remember, there's something over here. While searching for something to feed my brother with, I had a good idea. Should I kill the customers and steal his money? Everyone who comes here have a decent amount of valuables. No, I can't. There's no way that'll go smoothly. They have 2 people on their side. And even if there's only 1 person, there's no way a kid like me can kill an adult. Even though everyone who came here were bastards, maybe those 2 were kind. Moreover, since Mother's gone, I now own this shop. That'd be my first customers. Though I have nothing to sell, there were important customers. The conversation and footsteps stops. The shop's door opened. Welcome! I welcomed them with my best smile. Holy shit! Holy mother of God. So this is the shit that was happening behind closed doors. You know that image? The one where you look at this photo, the more disturbing it becomes? You've seen these images, right? You've seen this, right? This one, right?
The longer you look at this photo, the
Shut the what the... Seriously?
more disturbing it gets.
At first glance, it might look like a normal photo and not scary at all. But trust me, keep looking.
This is TikTok.
You look at this.
I mean, this is disturbing. Wow. Wait, he re-uploaded this. Is this literally what he does? I mean, the more I look at this guy, the more disturbed I am. But you get my point. This is one of those photos. The more you look at it, the more disturbing it gets. We thought that Gideon was a crazy one, but looks like Jacob was a bit crazy. What's wrong with his face? I failed to see the problem. Is there a high definition version of this one? Because it's supposed to be high definition, large. Oh, that's better. That's a bit better. Ah, thank you, Ark. Thank you, thank you. Prime is a good way to do it. It's included as part of your Amazon sub. Thank you. I very much appreciate it. If you haven't already, hook up your Twitch to Discord and vote for the next anime we're watching. The vote ends tomorrow, by the way. This is basically an analogy for what we just read. It started out as a mother leaving 2 kids. And then slowly, as he was getting hungrier and hungrier, he lost his grip on reality. So this is the polar opposite of the little princess. It's amazing how we didn't even think. But think about it this way, right? If we went into the mountain and died, could he not have recovered our corpses and our equipment? I mean, he could have been sending us in to die. You never know. I mean, sure, we take out a few robots on the way, right? And then he just goes in and gathers the missing parts. I mean, we broke so many of them. That's plenty of parts to pick up. And if we die, who cares, right? We cleared out some of the entrance. He loses absolutely nothing. He has all to gain and nothing to lose. What if we died on the junk heap? I mean, like, pretty much, right? When you really think about it. I mean, what seemed like a very innocent request initially now has very dark overtones because we don't know what his thought process was. He had already accepted that his mother left. He didn't know for 100% that she was in the junk heap. He sent us to the junk heap to look for her. We found her by sheer chance. Just saying. Where's the image for this one? The Magic Mountain. So we still have Witch's Sabbath, Little Mermaid, Straight is the Gate, Around the World in 80 Days, Lost World, and then we have Grimoire Nier Revised Edition. If our pace is anything to go by, we're reading about 3 stories a week. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we possibly have another 2 weeks. Maybe 3 weeks. But I'll tell you what, this is some good shit. It's heavy, but it's sparking so much thinking that it's just... Yeah, that's the last story. I'm keeping it to 4 hours. If I don't have time to edit, and I need to be editing. But, man, this is, in a nutshell, the movie versus the novel. This is the novel. The movie's like, hello, welcome to my store. The novel is this. Holy shit. These stories are getting crazier, yeah. Yeah. Red and... Then There Were None was pretty hard. Stoneflower was pretty heartbreaking. The Red and the Black just guts you. Honestly, just guts you. The Little Princess, you're expecting tragedy, but you got something quite wholesome. It's unexpected. And then Magic Mountain, you thought you're gonna get a story of 2 brothers, and then it just turned into this shit. Like, this is dense, man. This is a caramel slice. You need water. Just a heads up, the next story gets a bit intense. Man, these are all getting a bit intense. But I'm really happy with... I think I'm gonna have to send Mr. Clems a message when we finish reading this. Because you remember when he did the NieR analysis, he called Emil his boy, and I never really understood it. I'm like, okay, he's a kid that turned into a monster. You know, whoop-de-fucking-do. It's not the first time it's happened to someone. But after seeing this, I'm kind of like, oh my god. Like, literally, like, oh my god. Poor kid. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Alright. Tomorrow, Devil May Cry. Monday is Attack on Titan plus whatever wins the vote. Thank you, Ark. Much appreciated. Please, guys, if you haven't voted, do vote. I'm going to get back to editing. I finished editing out Persona 5 Strikers. I need to get back on that horse editing more of NieR Replicant. I'm also editing anime, so I'm keeping busy.
Vice, you dumbass! Start making sense, you rotten book, or you're gonna be sorry! Maybe I'll rip your pages out one by one, or maybe I'll put you in the goddamn furnace! How can someone with such a big smart brain get hypnotized like a little bitch, huh? Oh, Shadow Lord, I love you, Shadow Lord! Come over here and give Vice a big sloppy kiss, Shadow Lord! Now pull your head out of your goddamn ass and start fucking helping us!